In this video we're going to do a walk cycle. Now we've already got some keyframes down in our timeline down here and we've been playing with our character. So I'm going to make sure that we're back on start. In fact, I want to change our start to 0. I'm going to move it back to that. We'll fix these keyframes up in a moment. We want to reset the character as well, so I'm going to go A. I might have to do it twice to toggle all the bones on. And I'm going to go Alt, R, G and S to reset any elements that you may have moved. Now we're going to do animation in a different window layout. So I'm coming up to the top here and going to animation, which will reset my layout. Now we're going to be following this animation chart, this top one, the walk. Now it loops from this character here, the first character, to this character here, and then repeats itself to do a full step. So forget about these two, that's just where it's looping. These two here, don't worry about them. So we want to set our character so he's facing the same way. So I'm going to go Control 3 and I'm going to go 5 to make sure he's orthographic. So it should be left orthographic. I'm going to zoom in on the character. I'll go A to deselect his bones. By the way, if you can't see these colours, you might be in just object mode. So go Control Tab to get into pose mode. You can also do it down here. So I've got the rig selected in object mode and I go into pose mode. Now over here is where I've already got some keys. I can zoom in on this by just using the wheel so I can see where I've put some keyframes in. So I want to get rid of these to begin with. I'm going to go X and delete. So I've deleted all the keyframes. Again, I want to set my time controls down here. So I want to make sure that my starter's on 0. And this, just for this walk cycle, we're going to do it at 30 frames. So I'm going to right click there and left click there and go 30 frames. Now I can zoom in on this by positioning my cursor here and zooming it up so I can see each of the 30 frames very clearly. Now I'm going to start by just going A to select all of the bones and by going I and coming down to location, rotation, scale, left clicking to put a keyframe in on frame 0 for all the bones. We won't actually be using all the bones, I just went A to deselect, but it's just easier to do that. Now I'm going to start with the hip, so I'm going to select it and I'm going to pull down just a little bit to give it a little bit of weight, and I'm going to hit the R key to rotate it down a little bit. Now I'm doing this first pose here, so I want to get this first foot, first leg, the hero sort of leg, stretch it out, pull this leg out the back, sort of the maximum distance. I might actually even come down a little bit more. And I'm going to rotate the leg up, pull it up. Now I want to make sure that it's sort of, the knee sort of has a slight bend in it there. I'm going to look at my pose again. So this foot should be just have the toe on the ground. So I'll come back in here and rotate this down. I'm going to rotate the toe up a bit, like so. I can probably pull this foot back a bit more. There's my ground. I can pull this guy forward a bit more. Now I'm not going to worry about the arms to begin with. I'll just do the legs. So I'll have a look here, and that looks reasonably good. So excuse the construction in the background. So I'm going to select, holding the shift key, both feet controls, both toe controls, and the hips. They're the only things that I've actually moved. And I'm going to copy those with this little arrow down here to the clipboard. And I'm going to go to frame 15 by just clicking in the middle. And I'm going to paste those opposite. Now you can see the light slightly changed, so I know I've done that. I'm going to copy that again and go to frame 30 by just clicking on it and paste opposite again. So if I scrub that, you'll see the legs are just crossing over. It's not a walk yet, but it's a good start because now the computer's doing most of the in-betweens for us. So now I want to come back to frame 3. Now each one of these poses we want to move forward 3 frames. So I'm doing this pose now, the second pose. Now the first thing you notice is the foot is flat. It's flat most of the way back, it slides back. So I'm going to come in and select this foot, zoom in a little bit. I'm going to rotate it down so it's flat and just pull it down. Like so. Now I'm going to have a look at the pose again. Now this foot has to be rotated much more. Still on the ground, but just the toes just touching now. So I'll come back in here, select this foot, rotate it down, and lift it up. The computer's doing most of the horizontal movement for us. All we have to do is the vertical movement and rotations. Have a look at that. That sort of is starting to match. This guy's got a bit more weight in him here because the hips are going down, but we'll fix that up later. We're just concentrating on the feet at the moment and toes. So now we'll go to 6. We'll have a look at the pose again. And again, you can see that the first leg is quite flat. So we'll come back into the hero leg. I call it the hero leg. We'll select that and rotate it flat again. And we'll just pull it down a little bit so it's definitely on the ground. And that looks okay. Let's have a look at the other leg. We're looking at this pose now, frame 6. So we want that a bit more vertical. So I'll come back in here, select it by right clicking. Well, rotate it just a bit. I might lift it up a little bit as well. And that's starting to look okay. It's a little bit more forward than this one, but we'll leave it for the moment. The character proportions are different. And the computer's doing that horizontal movement for us. So I'm going to go to frame 9 now. We'll have a look at the pose. So this is where they cross over. Again, I look to be a little bit ahead of that here. But the first thing we'll do is flatten this foot. So I'll come in and flatten our foot that's moving back, that's sliding back, by rotating it down. I'm going to flatten that toe a little bit as well. I probably should have done it in the last frame, frame 6. Go back, yeah, I'm going to actually bring it in. I'll put a keyframe there as well. Come back to 9, jump back to 9. Let's have a look at the other foot. So it's looking okay. This is our figure here. I think we'll leave that. So now we'll go to frame 12. Now this is where this foot is starting to pick up. Let's look at frame 12. Here it is here. It is starting to pick up. We might just leave that foot, but we'll come in on the other one. And I want to exaggerate this, so I'm going to square it off a little bit, and I'm going to make it a little bit higher, just to exaggerate that step. I'm just going to come back and have a look at that one on 9, yeah. I'm just going to pop a keyframe in there, just so that it works a bit better. So now if I scrub that, you'll see I've got half a step. Now this is where Blender comes in nice and handy, because we can do some copy and paste opposite now. So I'm going to go back to frame 3 and hold my shift key in and select both feet and both toes. And I'm going to copy that down with this little arrow. And I'm going to go to frame 18 and paste opposite. Then I'm going to go back to frame 6, copy that pose to the buffer, to the clipboard, go to frame 21 and paste opposite. Then I'll go back to frame 9, copy that to the clipboard, go forward to frame 24 and paste opposite. Then I'll go back to frame 12, copy it, and go to frame 27, and guess what? Paste opposite. Okay, so if I hit play now, we're starting to get a bit of a walk. There's a bit of a hesitation on frame 30 because it's repeating frame 0. We'll fix that later. We want to move our hips now. So I'm just going to stop that. I'm going to go to frame 3, select the hips, and I want to just give the character a bit of weight here, so I'm going to push it down a little bit, and I'll rotate down a little bit as well. Now I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to frame 18 and paste the same. It's not different. I could paste opposite, but it wouldn't make any difference. I'll hit the play button. We'll have a little look at that. Okay, so now he's got a definite bit of weight as his foot comes down, maybe a bit exaggerated, but that's okay, it's a cartoon. Let's have a look from the front. So just hit 1. Yeah, that'll do for the moment. We might change it a little bit later. I'm just going to stop and we'll do the arm. So I'm going to go back to frame 0. I'm in the front view now. I'm just going to grab the first hand, push it down, rotate it down a little bit. It would have been better if I'd rested my fingers in model mode, but we might try that later. So just going to rotate around and have a look at that. I'm going to pull it in a little bit. Have a look at the elbow. Now, actually, before I do that, I'll copy and paste that to the opposite. And I might rotate the elbow out a little bit as well. Let's do this side. Move it out a bit first. This is a new control, this elbow rotation. I'm not sure that I'm using it at its best yet. That's better. We need a little bend in the elbow there so we could see where it was actually bending. I'll pull that down too far. Yeah, try not to pull the controls too far. So it looks a little bit better. Let me try and rotate that now. I'm just going to reset that elbow by going Alt-R. So let's just pull it back into where it was. I'll try rotating it again. That's better. Maybe a bit more. Okay. That looks a lot better. Still not perfect. In fact, let me just check one thing. I'm just clicking on the body and coming in here. Yeah, so I seem to forget this sometimes, but you've got to move this armature modify above the sub D. So I'm just going to click on this little arrow, and that's smoothed it out a lot better. So I'm going back onto the armature again. Okay, it clicks back straight into pose mode. So I'm going to select the elbow and the hand and copy those and paste them to the opposite. Okay, so now I'm going to get the side view again, Control 3. Now, I'm going to move that, whoops, okay, too much selected. I just want the hand. I'm going to move this one back, move it up. I'll rotate the hand up. We'll get the other hand. I can just select it through the body by clicking on the X-ray there, move it forward, move it up, rotate the hand up. I'll just rotate around and have a look. Yeah, that's looking okay. Fingers don't look great, but we might fix those up later. Right, Control 3 again to get to the correct view. So I'm going to select both hands now by holding the shift and selecting both hand controls. Copy those to, copy those to the buffer, to the clipboard. I'm going to go to 15, paste opposite, copy that, and go to 30, and paste opposite. And we'll scrub that to see how the hands look. That's pretty good. We're going to do one more thing. They have to rotate down a bit. So I'm going to go to frame 7. They're both selected. I'm just going to pull them both down at once. Not all the way. We don't want them directly flat. I'm going to rotate them down as well. And I'll copy that. I'll go to frame 22 and paste opposite. I'll hit play again. And that's looking okay. We can rotate around it while we're having a look. Okay, I'm going to stop that for a moment. Just hit the rewind button so it goes back. So up here, this is our dope sheet. This is where all of our keys are located. You can cut and paste and zoom, etc. up here. This is our graph editor. You can modify the movements in here by using Bezier handles. We don't need to do that on a walk cycle. There's a couple more things we can do to this walk to make it a little bit better. Let's click on the head. And now we don't have a keyframe for the head on 15 or 30. So let's just copy it, go to 15, paste it in. You can paste opposite or the same, it doesn't really matter. And we'll go to 30 and do the same. Now let's go to 3, where the body's coming down. We'll rotate the head down a little bit. Just make sure you're in the right viewpoint to do that. I'll copy that, go to 18 and paste it again. So hit play, have a little look. So that's good, having a little bit of a head movement there as well. You can move these frames around a little bit to make it a little bit more organic. I'll leave it for the moment. Now I want to twist the hip a little bit as well, so I'm going to go again to frame 3. I'll go view 7, so I'm looking at it from above. I'm going to go R and just twist the body slightly, not too much. Copy that, go to frame 18 and paste opposite. So I'll just rotate down, we'll hit play. And that's improved it a lot. Okay. So that's a basic walk cycle. In our next video, we'll have a look at the nonlinear editor. I'm just going to save this as walk.